I do appreciate you all being here today, and I wish to thank you for attending, or particularly for logging on, especially when the weather is so fine. There's nothing worse than sitting inside on a day like this. However, it's quite important. The reason for this meeting, and I'm very grateful for your support, and I hope that I can count on you for the coming months. So this meeting this evening is called Devonshire 2023 Festival, and we need your help. And we do, brethren. I make no bones about it. We, the 2023 festival team, do need your help. With the important positions you hold within your respective lodges as charity stewards, you've probably got the best ability to get the festival of ours up and running again. And I know that because we've not been meeting in lodges, that's a difficult task. However, I believe by September we will be back, and your help and assistance will make all the difference to us. The rub is that you see that it appears that we're really incredibly good at giving our charity money away to where it's needed, of course, but we're rather reticent when it comes to helping to fund it. Some of us didn't engage with the Masonic Charitable Foundation, the MCF, in the same way as we did with the individual charities such as the RMTGP. And some of us felt that we'd lost our identity with our charity giving or charitable giving. However, as it can be demonstrated today, we have not lost any of the benefits of that charitable giving. And our province has done very well. And I've got to say, I'm very proud of Worshipful Brother Ruben Ayres, and our provincial charity steward, and Worshipful Brother Walker Lapthorne, the festival secretary, because they've continued on through these recent dark times to ensure that our province has been well looked after. And if there's been a chance of getting some funding for it, they're the people who've made it so. In light of the pandemic, the MCF has been able to put so much more financial support to our distressed brethren and their families, as well as being in a better position to support and aid those close to our heart charities, local charities, who would likewise have been struggling with funding. So the MCF has done well. There's no getting away from it. If you read those figures, since the MCF was started, which was just over 5 years ago, we've given away £90 million. And there's probably, brethren, is the problem. Everyone is struggling, especially charities, but we still expect that assistance when we need it. And the MCF, which happens to be our personal charity, has been doing rather well and continued to give not only financial aid, but now also counselling during these lean times. Brother, I'm going to ask you just to have a look at a quick demonstration of where the Masonic Charitable Foundation money has been coming from. The presentation is by the Masonic Charitable Foundation and its achievements over the last 5 years. So please pat yourself on the back, brethren, for keeping the MCF going and viable. Where many charities have really struggled, we've been able to support them as well. So wearing that charity steward jewel is something you should do with pride. It is an outward sign that you personally are making a difference. The next slow but John Smurden, please don't laugh at the music. It's nothing to do with us. Again, if you just look at where those fantastic sums of money come from, the next video. Music not supplied by Don Smurd and Brethren. So there you go. That's where the money's coming from. That's how we get our money. That's how we are so successful and how we keep it going. But do we personally feel that we've done enough giving to a charity that has been set up in particular just for us? Next slide. So, brethren, here's your problem. Now the MCF needs our financial support to continue its good works. Brethren, it's not a personal social security number or personal health care program such as BUPA, and for that reason it has got to be means tested. Having said that, if you need the MCF support, it's there for you and your dependents, and that care and support will remain in place until you no longer need it. It isn't done on an annual basis. As long as you need that support, it keeps coming to you. Have the brethren forgotten one of the most important principles of our order, the one on which it was founded? I, of course, mean charity. Next. So we have a brilliant organisation that's been running for a little over 5 years, and they've managed to give away £90 million in that time, or to put it another way, have distributed £50,000 a day to those less fortunate than ourselves and who desperately need our support. Now, the MCF in turn needs our finances to continue its good works, and yet we personally seem to be reluctant to nourish that one organisation that we know if we call on it will endeavour to take the strain for us. Just look at that bottom statement there, brethren, because that's what I'm talking about today. As charity stewards, I know it's hard for you to engage with some of the brethren of your lodge. They all say, oh, we've only just finished one charity and we're just doing this for another one. But brethren, 50% of the brethren of 57% of the brethren of Devonshire continue to ignore the fact that the MCF is there for them. And yet if we want to get the support of the MCF, who do we go to? Who do we go to? We go to our almoner, who goes to Bob Munro, who goes to MCF, and before you know it, they're there helping. And I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Next slide. So are we an efficient charity? Well, we all say this, don't we? Oh God, you know, I give all this money. How do I know it's going where it should do? We're going in fundraising. I keep seeing it on the TV, save a donkey, save a whale, save anything really. Save my poor feet if you can do it. But the reality of it is the MCF only takes 3% for expenditure on fundraising. And look at some of the other ones there. I'm not talking about Great Ormond Street because I'd willingly give my money to help them. But some of the other ones there, you know, when you look at Oxfam, 26% of its money goes on fundraising. And then we also know, and we've heard it in the press before, 10 pence in the pound actually goes where you want it to go. Not a great sign, is it? But we have this gripe about just how much money we actually put into it and where it's being used. Well, we all know that our charity stewards don't get paid. We know that our provincial charity steward doesn't get paid. And when it gets to London, we know it goes into a pot that makes the difference. And it does. Our pound here and our pound there probably isn't going to make a big difference to anything. But when you add all our pounds together and then you put them into the pot that's covering the whole of the country, all of a sudden we have a big voice. And you've seen that £90 million in 5 years speaks volumes as far as I'm concerned. And it's our charity. You know, it's using the cash that we contribute to target it where it's really needed. And that's on the front line. Next slide. So, okay, so we're not the biggest charitable organisation after the lottery. That's a fallacy. Oh, hang on a second. £13.2 million to Masonic dependents. £4.5 million to charities that we've personally chosen, and knowing that your contribution does not put some administrator's bum on a seat, but it actually goes out there to where it's truly needed. We may not be the biggest charity, but we should certainly be the proudest. We deserve to be proud of ourselves. And as I've said recently, or was said recently by Ruben on one of his YouTubes, I hope you've seen them, he said, what have the Romans ever done for us? Or he have said, what has the MCF ever done for us? Well, there you go. Have a look. The MCF has supported those in Devonshire. And remember, that care and that aid will continue for as long as it's required due to the hard work that our provincial almoner, Worshipful Brother Bob Munro and his team put into its administration. 120 recipients at this present moment in time have received in total £382,092 to support them, their families. And can we be any prouder than that? We should be. The only trouble is, brethren, we don't seem to want to pay into it. Next slide. And do we do what we can do to help other people? Well, we can't mention names, and you can see that here. Brethren, we can't go into specifics without the agreement of those receiving it on the receiving end for obvious reasons. But we can highlight to a degree some of the recent areas of support in Devonshire for which we should be rightly proud. Look down through that list and you'll see that it's not only medical bills the MCF picked up. We look at living expenses in certain areas, educational grants, we've orthopedic spinal knee replacements, living allowances, accommodation. Nor is it only Freemasons themselves who are feeling the supporting arm of the MCF around them. We do know that some families are getting that help as well. And I should repeat, we should all be proud of the aid we give, because singularly our contributions may be small, but collectively we do make a difference. And some of the outward charities that we've helped in this last year, 2019-2020, well, you can see it for yourselves. It's not difficult to work out. £72,740 was given in grants to charities who were struggling. As simple as that. We know the MCF helps individuals within our province, and we also know it's instrumental in helping and aiding support to our neighbouring provinces and to the charities within them. 72,000 brethren to charities we have selected to help in the last year, and we will continue to support them the same way this year. Next slide. Finally, from me, brethren, at the beginning of the pandemic, the MCF set up a COVID-19 fund, which was to be distributed to the group provinces. Ours is Group 9, and ranges from Hampshire, Isle of Wight down to Cornwall. And we were given £100,000 and asked to look at really, really worthy causes that we thought we could help. So Worshipful Brother Reuben and Worshipful Brother Walker sat down with me, and we started looking at that and trying to work out where we thought the need was particularly required. And at the very beginning, we looked at food banks, and the reason for that is because we were hearing through the churches that people were struggling, people who were affluent under normal circumstances because of the restrictions of COVID, because they'd lost their jobs, because they were too proud to show it in other ways. They needed food, and food banks were delivering it at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning to these houses so that people would not be embarrassed. And we got involved in that. And as you can see, some of the food banks we helped. And then we looked at mental health and we said, look, you know, hang on, these people who haven't got jobs anymore, what's happening to them? So we talked to the Samaritans, and the Samaritans asked if we could help them because they're not centrally funded as we expected, but those in Plymouth and in some other areas, they have to rely on getting their own money in. So we helped some of those. And then finally, brethren, well, we looked a little bit further afield and we started to hear, particularly in some of the larger areas, about abuse to women. And so we made a presentation of some money to help the Women's Abuse Clinic in Exeter in particular, because they were struggling as well. And then we've looked longer term, we've looked at long-term illnesses, people who will not get better after the COVID, but still need our help and our support. And so I think we were quite successful, brethren. There was £100,000 put on the table, and Devonshire, due to our staff and the way that we've worked, got £48,379 of it. Brethren, there was other provinces who didn't know how we moved so quickly and how so well, but we did do well. And I think we should congratulate those people who made that possible. And also to the Group 9, because obviously they had to make the decision on whether to give us some money, and they did, and they did us proud. So, you know, we have to, again, say thank you to them. So, brethren, we are in our festival until 2023, and this is our opportunity to make the difference, to support our own charity. And yet I can't understand this. 57% of our Devonshire Freemasons continue to ignore our plea, and as you will see later. And whilst you've listened to this presentation, please think about how you can make a difference when you relay this message on. I'm not asking for your money personally. I would like you as charity stewards to go back into your lodges and say, we need your help, and you can make the difference. Your help in passing on this message could make the difference to somebody that you know. And I need to say this now very privately between ourselves, and there'll be no names or anything, but I heard from one of the visiting volunteers this morning, and he said he'd been asked to visit a house, and I won't tell you where the husband who'd lost his job had left. Simple as that. And the father, who's a Freemason, contacted his almoner, and the almoner said we would look into it. And the father's on a state pension, so he couldn't help very much himself. So our visiting volunteer went along to this house and knocked on the door, and the lady and a very small child, and I mean a small child, I would say, from what he was saying, he thinks it's under sort of 3 years of age. And he went into the house and she invited him into the kitchen for a cup of tea and a chat. And he said, Peter, he said, there was nothing there. She was boiling water on a stove with a saucepan. He said, and I turned around, he said, the sink was full of nappies. She was washing nappies. And he said, where's your washing machine? And she said, oh, I sewed that. And he said, I felt distraught, absolutely distraught. So he said he went home and he contacted the provincial almoner, but he also contacted our provincial Grand Master. And he said to the Right Worshipful Brother Ian Kingsbury, Ian, I've just been to somewhere that I left in tears. And Ian said, what do you want to do to make a difference? And he said, well, I'd like to buy her a bloody washing machine, if nothing else. Ian said, how much do you want? So they came to an agreement on some cash. And the next day, that visiting volunteer went back and he met the lady and her child. He put them in his car and he took them to the local, well, I don't know, it was PT World or Courage, whatever it was. And he said, choose a washing machine. And he phoned up a friend of his who came and plumbed it in for them. And he said, while we're here, he said, let's get a kettle. She said, well, it's easy to do that. She said, but you know, the electric's a bit expensive, you know. And he said, don't you worry about that. Let me worry about that. Well, in the background, unbeknown to her, Bob Monroe and his team were working hard with the MCF, and they were making a difference because they put money into her pocket. They helped her out. That was some time ago, brethren. He was very upset when he was telling me. I was upset when I heard it. But the important thing is that we were doing something to help somebody else. Somebody we'll never meet. Somebody probably will never know. I'll never know them for sure. But what I do think is that we helped. We made the difference. And that, brethren, we can't do without the money that we get from our festival. So your help in passing on this message could make the difference to somebody you know. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. So I'll give you an update now on the Devonshire 2023 Festival and how we are doing. So this slide here shows the headline figures. The figure in the middle there shows that our current festival total is just under £1.5 million. We have 1,256 brethren who have signed up for a festival jewel of one grade or another, and the different ranks of jewels are shown on the top of the chart here. We have one lodge that has qualified for vice patron status, 5 lodges have patron status, and 1 lodge has grand patron status. So we've got about £1.5 million so far. But during the festival cycle, Devon will receive £5.5 million, roughly. And so in comparison with that generosity of support for Devonshire Freemasons in distress and their families, and for non-Masonic charities in Devon, £1.5 million really does look a little pitiful. So the province currently has just under 4,500 members and just under 5,000 memberships. Of those 4,500 members, 1,256 have qualified for a festival jewel as a steward or above. 655 have given something to the festival, but less than £300, and so don't qualify for a jewel. So that's about 15%. And 2,576 brethren, i.e. 57%, have given nothing that is individually attributable to them. And that, I think, is a fairly shocking figure. 43 lodges have signed up 30% or more of their members as stewards, so about a third. And of the 131 lodges we have in Devon, only 3 so far have exceeded their performance in the 2012 festival, as judged by average donation per member. We have 20 inhibited direct debits at the moment, which compared with many other provinces is actually very good. Several provinces have found their festival totals going backwards as brethren have been cancelling their direct debits. So in that regard, we're holding fairly well. But this really is the chart that sums it all up. 28% of the Devonshire brethren steward status or above, 15% have given something, but less than a steward, and 57%, that whole red sector, have given nothing that can be individually attributed to them. We just look at that for a moment and take that in. But we have some highlights. We've got some good highlights. As I've mentioned already, we have one lodge that has grand patron status. There it is there. We have 5 lodges below that that have achieved patron status, i.e. have given more than £600 per member. And then other lodges there in descending order of donations per member. But at the other end of the spectrum, if we look at this chart, which shows the worst performing lodges in Devon, I think that makes pretty sad reading. I think we can reasonably take out the past masters lodges there, because obviously those brethren may well have donated through their mother lodge or through other lodges. But you know, there are several lodges here that have signed up not a single member as a steward, and there's one lodge there you will see that has given absolutely nothing. Now, this chart here is in 2 parts. The top chart, the one in red, shows a split of the Devonshire brethren by age group, so 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, etc., and shows what proportion of those age groups have signed up as a steward or above to this festival. And it's interesting because it shows that if you're in the 70 to 80 age group, you're twice as likely to have signed up as a steward for the festival compared with somebody in the 40 to 50 age group, and 3 times more likely to have signed up as a steward compared with somebody in the 30 to 40 age group. And there may be some good reason for this. People at those younger age groups may have other financial concerns. They're bringing up families perhaps, or concerned about the security of their employment or their businesses, especially during the COVID pandemic. But it still shows, you know, a fairly dramatic difference in support of the festival between those age groups. And the chart below in blue shows pretty much the same thing, but it shows average donation in pounds in those same age groups. And again, it shows the same thing, that those in the 70 to 80 age group on average have donated twice as much individually as those in the 40 to 50 age group, and 3 times as much as those in the 30 to 40 age group. This slide represents 10 middle ranking lodges and shows how much they're donating per member into the 2023 festival, the current festival, in red, and how much those same lodges donated to the 2012 festival, So these are middle ranking lodges, and you can see that for our festival, they're donating about £200 per member. But if you look how generous they were to the 2012 festival, you get a very different picture. £600, £750, £550, etc., etc. So those middle ranking lodges, rather more generous to the 2012 festival compared with ours. And the same is true if you look at the top ranking lodges. And in fact, the difference is even more dramatic when you look at the worst performing lodges, because some of those lodges at the bottom of that list were actually very generous towards the 2012 festival, but sadly not to this one. So this is my final slide, and I will leave you to read it. This is the announcement that our Provincial Grand Master, Right Worshipful Brother Ian Kingsbury, made at the festival launch, and shows the high hopes and anticipation we had at that time, and the pride that we had in our province as being one of generosity for charity. But just read those words and see how that reflects on our performance to date. Brethren, thank you very much. I'll now hand you over to Worshipful Brother Walker Lapthorne.
Thank you, Reuben. Brethren, nice to see you all here this evening. Thank you for your support. I must say that my internet connection is somewhat unstable this evening, so I do apologise if my presentation is a little bit difficult in patches, but hopefully I can get the message across. So you've all seen the scope and the depth of the problem that we face with our festival. We've not got a lot of time left. However, the message that we really want you all to take away tonight is that it is not too late to make a difference. Now, as a committee, we have thought about how we should go about restarting this festival, because of obviously the COVID crisis, totally unforeseen, has stalled the festival. And we felt that if lodges hopefully will start meeting again from September onwards, that the last thing that we should be doing is going in at that stage with a heavy appeal, because lodges will need a few meetings just to get used to the routine of meeting up again, revisiting learnt ritual, and I know I need some work on that one. And you know, there will be post-COVID anxiety. That's inevitable. So we're also then coming into installation season in October and November, and then there will be Christmas. And Christmas is important. It's important to families, and it's been disrupted over the last few years. So we didn't really think that it was timely this year to do it. So our intention, brethren, is to try and restart and re-energize our festival in the spring of 2020. And this is where we need all of your help. So we'll only have 1 year of the festival remaining at that point. And we feel our festival is like a stalled car. It's full of potential, brethren, but if only we could get it going again. So this strong message we want you all to take out to your lodges is it's not too late to make a difference. Now, there is an urgent need to re-engage with all the brethren, and we're calling the restart Operation Jumpstart. The analogy is the stalled car. Now, you've heard about the 57% who haven't made an individual contribution. Now, obviously, some of those members will have made contributions via their lodge donations, their annual lodge giving, although that again has stalled with the COVID crisis and lodges not meeting. But it is that 57% we need your help to try and reach. And you will be essential in this process, brethren, as charity stewards. There is also a clear role for your VGOs, almoners, and also the membership team. And the three of us have already given this presentation to VGOs and to the education and membership team. So I apologise if some of the slides coming up are not directly aimed at charity stewards, but it's important that you see the message we're putting out to everybody, because we feel that everybody has to work together if we're going to achieve any sort of reasonable total at the end of the festival. We are not insensitive to how difficult finding out who is in a position to give will be. We cannot lose sight, brethren, of the financial pressures that brethren may still be suffering. Lodge members may have been on furlough on 80% of their wages. There's pressure on inflation this week. There are all sorts of concerns. However, there may be members out there who have accrued funds. They haven't been attending their lodges, paying for meals. They haven't been able to go away on holiday. And, you know, everybody's ability to spend money, if they've had it available, has been restricted. So there could be latent potential there that we need to tap into. The difficulty is assessing who might be able to give and who is still in need, possibly of assistance themselves. Now, you as lodge charity stewards will play a crucial role in that. Not just the individual brethren, but the attitude of the lodge as a whole. But don't feel you're on your own, you're not. You'll be supported by the festival team with our group managers and our here to help. And it will be important to encourage either new or existing worshipful masters to try and get them on board with the festival. Now, you'll be aware that in festival, the normal recommendation is to give at least 75% of lodge giving to the MCF, and then to use the Wake Fund to support your local charities. Now, lodges do have different attitudes towards this, and some lodges we know we will never come on board. It's the middle ground lodges, the half, is where we think the best potential may be. The good lodges will always be good lodges. They know what's expected and they will go for it. Those at the bottom of the charts, perhaps there won't be time to really re-engage them, but it is those middle lodges, middle ranking lodges, where we feel the potential is. Now, it's been well proven that the best way to improve the festival total is by the regular direct debit means, trying to qualify as stewards or above. We have managed to negotiate with the MCF a 1-year extension to the period of the direct debits beyond the end of our festival. It won't mean that the festival will not end when it's programmed to. It will. The festival will end. It just will, because of the COVID close down, it will enable brethren that you manage to sign up in the new year to spread the cost of a jewel over 2 years rather than 1 year. And that hopefully may make it more affordable. And you can see on the chart there that what is needed in terms of the various honorifics to achieve that via these monthly payments. And that is also on the website as well, brethren. Now, the VGOs are crucial to this. And, you know, again, this is the message that we all need to work as a team. Almoners as well. The almoners may know information that you as charity stewards don't. And they may be better placed to understand who might be in a position to give and who might not be, or who may need help themselves still. So it is a very delicate matter to approach this last appeal. Now, the membership and mentoring teams are also on board with this. We gave this presentation to them a couple of weeks ago, and they have already changed the information and the documentation that they are putting out to potential new candidates very, very early on in the process. And they're reinforcing this message that there will, if you become a Freemason, there will be an expectation that you will, if you have the means and the ability to make charitable donations as part of that membership. And we felt that if that expectation could be raised at that very early stage, then the mentors and the charity stewards, when these candidates do come into lodge, the seed has been sown, brethren, for you as charity stewards then to develop that and to hopefully tap into it. And finally, brethren, we really do not underestimate the size of the task ahead. We're already experiencing problems with re-engaging with the brethren. As a lodge secretary myself, I don't know whether it's been received or not. And it is very difficult to know where people's heads are at the moment. We are still in that strange and curious time. if you have any experience in re-engaging with your brethren, then please let us know, because we need your help. We need all the help we can get. None of us could have predicted the impact that this COVID crisis would have had on our festival. We're not looking at targets now, brethren. The target is to do as well as we possibly can in the limited time that we have left. And the end total for the festival will be whatever it will be, but it will not be for want of trying on behalf of the festival team. We are absolutely committed to giving it our best. But these are very exceptional times still, and the whole team will need to work together. We have the tools at our disposal, brethren, and we're going to hopefully make this presentation available to you. We've also got some information in terms of A4 sheets with bullet points on, and you know, we need to get that message across about what the MCF does for Devonshire, and you know, we hope that we can rely on all of your support to get that message out there. And the message is, it is still not too late to make a difference. Thank you, brethren. We can now take questions. If you'd like to